Alien Queen wasn't digital. It was a massive practical suit by multiple puppeteers by Stan Winston's team with zero CGI safety net. It didn't move convincingly, the scene simply didn't work. The same commitment Cameron brought to the Marines. Training, real drills, real camaraderie. A single shot was fired. Authenticity is exactly why it hurts when Cameron starts taking them apart one by one. I'm Khan. This is Starlight Screens. The verdict: when Aliens released, it silenced every doubter. Critics who expected a cheaper action cash-in instead found a film in real conversation with the original. It won the Academy Award for visual effects. It outgrossed its budget, and it permanently changed what an action heroine was allowed to be. Not invulnerable, just competent, grieving, and furious. Underneath the firepower, the film carries a quiet distrust of institutions, a corpora crew that hated him, a budget that spiraled out of control, a composer racing a deadline nobody thought he could hit, and a director with exactly one flop to his name, handed the sequel to a film critics called perfect, and told not to screw it up. By every rule Hollywood usually follows, this movie should have collapsed before it ever reached theaters. Instead, it became one of the greatest sequels ever made. This is the real story of Aliens, and how it almost didn't survive its own production. The impossible job. Ridley Scott's Alien wasn't just a hit in 1979, it redefined horror. One creature, total dread. A perfect film that left one brutal question for any sequel. How do you follow that without repeating it? Fox handed the job to James Cameron, a director who'd just been fired off his own first studio film. His only real credit was The Terminator, written during a fever dream while he was broke and unemployed in Rome. His pitch for the sequel became legend. He walked into the room, wrote Alien on a whiteboard, then added an S. One monster becomes an army. A horror film becomes a war film. It was a massive gamble, and it terrified everyone in that room. Ripley rebuilt. What convinced Sigourney Weaver to return wasn't more action, it was grief. Ripley wakes up 57 years later to learn her own daughter lived a full life and died while she slept in space, untouched by time. That's why she fights so hard for Newt, the one child survivor she finds. This isn't really a monster movie, it's two mothers, Ripley and the Alien Queen, colliding over who gets to protect their young. Weaver's performance earned an Academy Award nomination. At the time, a genre film getting that kind of recognition was almost unheard of. The crew that despised him. Here's what most fans don't know. The shoot itself was miserable. Cameron directed a British crew that reportedly saw him as an arrogant 31-year-old American who hadn't earned his authority. Production stretched on. The budget kept climbing past what Fox was comfortable with, and executives grew nervous the whole thing might be a very expensive mistake. Even the score was chaos. Composer James Horner had a fraction of the normal time to write it, and the tension between him and Cameron was reportedly real. None of that survived onto the screen. What survived was total control, built by hand. That already knew the danger and sent people in anyway. That's not an accident. It's a film built in the shadow of Vietnam, skeptical of anyone with power making promises. Aliens shouldn't have worked. A hostile crew, a runaway budget, a rushed score, a genre pivot that could have alienated every fan of the original. Instead, it proved a sequel doesn't have to repeat what came before it to honor it. I'm Khan, this is Starlight Screens. If this gave you a new way to look at a film you thought you already knew, hit subscribe. Drop a comment. Which sequel do you think pulled off what Aliens did?